Maize. The main staple food for many people of the Eastern African region. It is consumed in various ways as baked bread, popularly known as posho, usually forming a family or institutional main meal. It is roasted to provide a quick snack, while other people prefer to make porridge out of it, especially for breakfast. But most importantly, maize is used to stem starvation in times of crisis. Approximately over 50% of the population in this region rely on maize and maize products as a main diet. Maize is the most important cereal crop widely grown and consumed in Uganda. The subsector is estimated to provide a living for approximately 12 million people, 1,000 traders and over 600 mill operators. Maize is mainly cultivated on a subsistence basis. Most farmers work with rudimentary means of production, usually on small family plots of land. Working in families, women and children toil for long hours in the field, tending to the many stages of the maize crop. Nuria Musisi lives in Kasese in western Uganda. Today, her children have not gone to school. The reason? Nuria cannot afford the school fees, so they have to work. Although Nuria has been growing maize for years, in the last season she was not able to earn enough to keep her children in school. In order to cultivate a larger field and realize a substantial harvest, families with slightly more money use intermediate technologies when preparing the land. Maize growing is back-breaking work. Many field hands are needed to manually weed the field. As it approaches harvest time, the workforce is stretched even further. It is a beehive of activity as men, women and children take to the fields. Farmers' family members marshal themselves into a workforce. Members tackle a heap of cut maize stalks, one at a time, as they meticulously remove cobs from the stalk. A bigger field and higher yield, coupled with short harvest period, sometimes create a necessity for hired labor. Attention is all shifted to getting the crop out of the field to catch the few remaining days of sun.
In situations where somebody is not strong enough, depending on how big his or her farm is, then one has to part with some money, or you surrender part of the produce and get labor.
At the close of day, a family is winding up its harvesting activity. Farmers who have been working on their fields for the whole season know the pain they have endured, only to end up earning a miserable pay.
Okuva mu buliri nva mu saa 12 n'agamba go n'agolla n'avaayo saa 5:30 ku saa 8 n'akola ki n'ayirayo mu nnimiro lw'eggulo n'okwirayo n'ayira saawa ndala n'alambala okuno kifo ky'okuno ku kyayi nno bw'amaadhi n'alambala olw'okuba bbeeyi entono ekola ki evaamu n'awunira enkeera era n'ajja ntyo n'ajja saa 12 n'avaayo saa 5:30 ku saa 8 n'akola ki n'ayirayo nga likunoonya nti ebuli awo mpinza okola ki okuvaayo ate nga gavumenti eruka nti tulime twetolaga ki agabi ayo okulima agabi ebbeeyi ekola ki eri gansi nno.
The shelling process is done manually, in most cases by the elderly. At 78 years of age, Mwanga Labu has to work from dusk to dawn shelling cobs.
How many people?
With help from his wife today, he is shelling maize from the season's harvest. The harvest he invested in heavily in form of hiring oxen at 90,000 Uganda shillings, an equivalent of $50 to plough 3 acres. Let alone the 30,000 Uganda shillings, the equivalent of $15 he spent on seed with the hope of getting a better yield and subsequently a better price. The results? Good yield, but a low price. For farmers, post-harvest handling, especially storage, proves a challenging issue. While some opt to store their maize in the traditional granaries, others have to share their small living space with bags of maize and stacks of maize cobs. This living arrangement makes it difficult for farmers to store the maize and wait for a higher price.
We ourselves, we don't know the price. We ask them how much are you going to give us. They themselves decide how much they want to give you. Either 100 shillings or 120, they tell you maize is as foreign price. And it is only buyer you have. You don't have anything to do. You sell that maize to him.
Florence Muchala grows maize in Kananage village, Kamuli district, eastern Uganda. Due to financial pressures, she is letting go of the last bag of maize she had hoped to sell to get a higher price, but that has not happened. She has no power to negotiate the price because the buyers influence the prevailing market prices. She feels cheated and is aware that the local middlemen buyers known as Kadongo Kamu will get more profit.
Tukalabata n'okulima n'ofunawo obusawo ng'obwo obwakasooli kyokka oyagala otundeko oweerera abaana weerabirire naye ng'obusente buba butono nnyo. Abo abasuubuzi bo bafuna nnyingi akugulako 10 ate weggwawo n'ogenda n'omugulako nnusu nga 3.
Isabirie Jackson is a known middleman in Kananage. He traverses villages on his bicycle with his weighing scale looking for cheap maize. He has been doing this job for the last 5 years. His main goal is to negotiate for the lowest price so that he can maximize profit when he sells to bigger dealers. His only investment is his bicycle and a few shillings.
Kati nze bwe mmala okugula nange muguza abasuubuzi bano abamuyigga kuno eri abasuubuzi abayida kuno abamugula okumutwala Idinda ne Kampala ab'emmotoka kuba nze nzera motoka nze ndi wakagaali kale abo benguza bamutwala Idinda.
But how much does he usually buy a kilo of maize from the farmers, and what is his profit margin when he sells?
Kati ensawo ya kasooli njigula omutwalo gumu ebeeramu ekiro 10 buli kiro njigula shillings 10 bali abasuubuzi ne abamukima bampa 15 nze nfunako amagoba ga shillings 5.
And does he know how much profit the dealers get?
Abali tebatubuulira bbeeyi tebatubuulira bali tebatubuulira ze batunda eri.
Mzee Chironde Thomas is a resident of Butekanga zone in Kananage, Kamuli district. He is a maize farmer who has been toiling with his family to grow and sell the crop for over years. He has never realized the fruits of his labor.
Okulima sebo kukoya ino ogame ekipanga okusala akapanga okola ki oluka kudumo itatu zokala mwegala nga otwali kisa kinene ino aye okugula kubagula sedalansi ino.
Other middlemen profit from the maize crop in various forms. Araptam Sulaiman is a fresh maize trader. He has opted to deal in fresh maize, which he buys straight from the garden. For both the buyer and seller, maize in this form fetches money faster without going through the rigors of drying and storage. But does the price offered by the trader compare to the effort put in by the farmer?
I buy an acre 400,000 due to the quality of the maize which is there in the garden. And if the quality of the maize is not so good, the demand drops 350, 380,000 shillings per an acre.
Ate oba tolina wa kumutwala olina kumuwa buwi ate oyagala essere.
Sulaiman runs a lucrative business, his input being only transport to deliver his cargo to Kampala. He earns a high margin on the maize, which he subsequently sells to the retailer, the cost that is eventually passed on to the final consumer.
We know, they have so 3 times. We have big, we have medium, then we have small. The big ones sell them at 200, 180. Medium, 150. Then the small ones, 70 shillings. The small one, that's the smallest.
In some cases, big-time dealers with trucks are able to buy directly from the farmers. But even at that level, where the small-time middleman is eliminated, the price still does not favor the farmer. Milling. At the processing stage, many entrepreneurs have made a fortune out of the milling business. In the town of Kasese in western Uganda, Wilson Kambiri, who invested in milling in 2000, has earned a lot more money.
It is a good business because I started with that first small building. I erected that second one, that big store. I have this office and so many other good things I have got from this.
Maganjo Grain Millers, perhaps one of the biggest maize processors in Uganda, has a processing capacity of 60,000 metric tons of maize per day. They rely on middlemen for the bulk of the maize they mill.
Because they have contacts all over. You could just call a middleman that I want maize, then he tells you the price and the terms of payment, then it's a deal.
To the big millers, the market forces are the main factor at play when buying maize.
I would like to get the lowest price possible. That's what I can, offer.
What's the lowest price possible?
It could be, 100. It could be 50, depending on the demand and supply,
Chisenyi, a bustling market which emerged out of the expanding city centre, is the main transit point for processing, warehousing and wholesale trade for maize. It is here that institutional buyers and retailers from other towns come to buy the processed maize flour, popularly known as posho. These are stores of the World Food Programme. The organization buys maize produced in Uganda for relief in northern Uganda, southern Sudan, eastern Congo and Rwanda. World Food Programme procured 121,000 tons of maize from Uganda in 2005. The World Food Programme is supplied by the big dealers with whom they have contracts.
We don't go and say the price. We open, you come with your bid. The tender's out, you come with your bid, then it's open.
In a bid to provide a wider market for maize, a consortium of 16 companies under an umbrella organization, Uganda Grain Traders Limited, was formed.
Okay.
But how far has it gone in solving the marketing problems of the farmer?
They would get much better prices if they cleaned and dried. Now, we as Uganda Grain pay for clean and dry grain, and we pay a premium for it.
But what is the premium price offered, which is befitting for a farmer who has borne the back-breaking work to produce the maize product? For 1,000 kilograms of maize produced to the export standard that is required of him, he earns only 58,000 Uganda shillings.
I mean, the premium that farmers get when they produce good quality grain for us is something of the order of $30 per tonne, more than the local market for grain. So there is a way that we are transferring a higher price back to the producers and the village traders.
A tractor transporting maize produce in the Kapchora area. The poor quality of roads does not make rural areas attractive for transporters. This is the best means of transporting maize produce in some parts of Uganda. Inaccessibility to maize production areas is one of the contributing factors to the unfair prices offered to farmers for their maize. Members of the Kapchora Commercial Farmers Association, Kakofa, are meeting to discuss marketing issues towards the end of the harvest. Transport is always high on the agenda. With the never-ending quest for a better price, local-based solutions are beginning to emerge. In some areas, farmers are coming together to share ideas and combining resources to tackle the factors which bring about low maize prices. A 67-member group of women, the Catholic Women Association in Kamwenge, have mobilized funds and rented a building in Kamwenge town where they sort and store their maize as they wait for a better price.
kugira ngo ozibika mu store yishe kuguza akabeyi konka kandi bindi obiguza ugasukura fizi y'abana kuko kutera higwa twabona gaza hari 250 ubumwe twagihangana bizari bishatu hanyuma bitera tubikira mu store buri memba we narabika nko kwarabasa hanyuma tuguze twemwe bisente rero tubagane.
Although they have managed to launch their initiative, they lack adequate financial support to fully realize their dream.
Itwe twature kugira ngo kutwo kubere kibasiri tutungire sente twe tugure cyo macho bucyo hakiri tugume tusaka hunga tuguza kahunga afasa no muhinja ryaka akahunga ngabwo ko akahunga hati ya munanga mu store turakagura imitwaro 8 sha kandi baba barakuguza mu kilo barakuguza shilingi 10 bicyori bambaye sana hanyuma itwe mpaho bicyori turabiguza shilingi 10 nanga 2 kunka akahunga ko turaza kunywa tukagura shilingi 10.
In Kamuli district, Butansi sub-county, eastern Uganda, a group of farmers have formed an association to improve the quality of their maize to get better prices. They have realized some of the impediments to good prices are poor drying and improper storage of the maize.
Well, that is a problem. I cannot urge much because we don't have granaries. And since we are rural farmers, our houses are very small. That's the problem we have.
Why should we grade if we are being exploited? People bring and dried maize simply because they want to get a better price by weight. We are being cheated. We are being cheated, so we take that wet maize deliberately to fetch us a better price.
Yeah.
With the support from Volunteer Efforts for Development Concerns, VEDCO, an NGO working to improve agriculture, they have been able to attain the capacity to access technical services to improve productivity and address marketing issues.
I train these farmers on agronomy of the crop. Basically, we're talking about maize. Then I have to check on them throughout the season till harvest time. Then I take them through the post-harvest. I ensure that they have stored properly their maize, they have controlled the quality. Then finally, I have to make sure that I link them to buyers.
In Masindi, a group of women displaced by conflict in northern Uganda have formed an association so as to pool together financial and human resources to grow maize. As if the problem of displacement was not bad enough, they find themselves overwhelmed by the difficulties of growing and marketing the produce.
Being a displaced, we don't have proper land for staying. We don't even have enough money for building a store. So storage is a problem. Harvesting maize here from the garden, we take home, nowhere to keep. That is why we sell our maize at the lowest price.
International non-governmental organizations that work to end poverty and suffering see an increasing need to address the impact of poor maize prices on farmers.
We are supporting a number of organizations, SATNET and Vedico, that are working with farmers themselves to see how they can improve their production and marketing of their products. Because we believe that one of the ways that people can get out of poverty is if they get a fair price for what they produce.
Local leaders and legislators are well aware of what needs to be done to address the problem.
Majorly, the road infrastructure. And really anyone thinking of improving household income, our farmers should have access to either storage centers or market facilities. Then secondly, there must be these stores. We have to look at these stores. Then thirdly, our president has been emphasizing value addition. A kilogram of maize, of the grain, is 80 shillings, as I have told you. But a kilogram of maize flour is 600. So if we can help these farming cooperatives to own maize mills, local maize mills, to process their maize into flour, which has got to ready market in the schools, in the prison farm, and even the ordinary people, you can be assured of really raising some income to a certain minimum level.
The representative body for farmers has recognized the problem of maize prices and are echoing the concerns of the maize farmers.
What needs to be done now is more intervention. Possibly it may require public intervention in terms of making them organized further. There's some level of organization, but it is not strong enough, particularly for purposes of marketing. Secondly, they need to be also trained further on negotiation skills, on, for example, on pricing and so forth. And thirdly, if they are not able to get other sources of income to meet their basic needs, whether medication or sending children to school, then they'll be forced to sell their produce at giveaway prices.
Government intervention through National Agriculture Advisory Services, NADS, focuses on training extension workers who then avail their services to the farmers at a cost.
Basically, we have what we call advisors or extension workers whom the farmers recruit. And based on those challenges, they are at liberty to use NADS resources to recruit people who can help them, advise them on handling methods, like how do you dry, how do you store, how do you control pests and so on and so forth, how do you sort, that kind of thing. That's basically how we work.
This approach to the farmers' problems has created a need to press it up on government to take on its responsibility of addressing the farmers' plight.
The government has a role to play in that. And farmers need a basic price. Farmers need to know that if they plant maize, they will have profits, they will have some amount of income besides food. And the state has to ensure that farmers get a minimum price. And that fixing of that minimum price has to be a decision that has been taken on a very professional level so that farmers are protected.
Particularly when the government would like to turn farming into an enterprise that brings money. And if that is the case, then the government cannot leave us anymore in the hand of the middleman to suffer, and we don't get anything.
Unless the Ugandan government strengthens the current initiatives and puts in place appropriate interventions to address the farmers' plight, the farmers will continue to suffer and endure the miserable maize prices, unaware of the huge profits earned by every other player in the market chain.
Maui.